Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Friday. Hurrah! Apparently going to be the hottest day of the year so far. Where am I going? Down to the seaside. I'm going to be on the seafront on the hottest day of the year. Might need a hat. Good morning, Jay. As usual, if you are watching, do please pop a hello in the comments so that I can say hello to you. Good morning, Maria. It is going to be a beautiful day in Hampshire today. Good morning, Sephora. Good morning, Elizabeth. Jane, yes, it is hot enough. Oh, yeah, it's too hot for me. Good morning, Rachel. Good morning, Sue. Hello, husband. Hello. Where's my coffee?
Early.
Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Emma. Yeah. Eric is on fly patrol. There's a fly in the house and he has been stalking it all morning so far. Good morning, Caroline. Welcome everyone to Friday. Let's move the keyboard out of the way. Don't need that. Good morning, Christine. Yeah, welcome to Friday morning chat. It's been a busy week. Been a ridiculously busy week, actually.
Not finished yet.
It's not finished yet, no. I've been all over the place today. See, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I've been all over the place this week. All sorts of places. Ritual tattoo with the very lovely Susie Inkwich on Wednesday. That was, international travel to Essex. But that was great fun. And all sorts of shenanigans today. Topped off this evening by the Kitchen Witch Summer Solstice Ritual on the Kitchen Witch Facebook Coven page and on the Kitchen Witch YouTube channel. 7 o'clock this evening. We will be making bead poppets. It's going to be hilarious. I have my bits and pieces of craft. I've never made it before, so I'll be doing it for the first time live on the video. Should be worth a chuckle. Good morning. Good morning, Megan. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Karen. Just making a brew, doing holiday washing. Well, yeah, that's not fun, is it, coming back from holiday? Good evening over in Australia, Jill. And good morning, Leslie. Oh, there's a link just come up for the summer solstice ritual. It's going to be a fun one this evening. Should be worth a laugh anyway. Let's see if we can make bead poppets live on the video. But there is a point to them. Summer solstice, let's work some magic together. We'll see how we get on. We'll see. Give it a couple of minutes and then I'm going to talk about magical jar spells. I think it was last week. I can't actually remember much about anything at the moment, but I think last week I mentioned jar spells in passing. So I thought I'd go into them in a bit more detail today. Yes, I have a jar of Marmite, but we were looking at the magic of that in a minute. Sephora says it's wet and cold in New Zealand. Guess we're doing the winter solstice. You can just jiggle it about. It's just, twist it a bit. Fine.
Australia and New Zealand are wet and we're...
I know, yes, Australia and New Zealand that are usually sunny are wet and we're boiling hot. Yeah. Mother Nature's menopausal, drunk, both on drugs. I don't know, something. Good morning, Raven. Maria only has a black Sharpie. It'll be a goth poppet, Maria. There's nothing wrong with that. Good morning, Helen. Good morning, Maharet. So yes, if you are free, 7 o'clock UK time this evening, or depending on what time it is in your part of the world, summer solstice, online Kitchen Witch summer solstice ritual. We did it this evening because there's a lot of stuff going on at the weekend for other people. Father's Day on Sunday in the UK, for anyone that's forgotten. And there are a lot of other events going on as well. So we're doing it this evening so we don't clash with anybody. It'll be fun. So I thought I would talk about magical jar spells today. It is something that I work with quite a lot. It's kind of connected with the kitchen witch in me, I guess. So I've got a selection here to go through today, and I'll talk you through the basics of it. as always, if you've got any thoughts or comments or magical spells, or Pete's just answering the phone. Shh, he's at work. If you've got any thoughts or comments, as usual, pop them in the comments and we'll share them. We learn from each other. Good morning, Caroline, who is in sunny Malta. Very nice too. Very nice. Zephora says 6 a.m. time for us here, so might be sleeping through the summer solstice. Yeah, that's the different world time zones, isn't it? Makes my head explode. So we'll have a talk. We'll have a talk about these magical jars and see where we go. I don't like to throw things out. I do like to reuse things. I do like to be eco-friendly. So I recycle whenever I can. Chuck things on the compost heap. Whatever I can think of to do with something rather than throw it in the bin, I do. But jars are brilliant for magical spell working. Caroline's dog sitting for her son. Excellent. Jars are brilliant for magical spells. The jar spell is just like a container for your spell. So jars work really well. Cans also work really well. And even a lot of the food packets work really well as well. So think about it before you throw it in the bin and think, can I use that? Once the contents of the jar, there's my phone going as well. We're really on the ball here today. Let's turn that off. Once the contents of the jar or tin or whatever it was have been eaten, I connect with it to see what magical energy I get from it. So I would, if there's a little bit of scrap in the bottom, okay, let's see what spell we can work with you and connect. Send out your spidey senses, connect with the energies of it and see what magic you can work with it. There are some more traditional ones than others. Honey jar spells are very traditional, particularly in something like hoodoo. Pickle jars are really good. Pickled onions, pickled cabbage, because the vinegar in it works really well in spells. I don't wash them out. Use them as they are. So, you get that little scrappy bit in the bottom and, bits on the side. I don't wash it out because I work with the energy of the contents that were in the jar as well. And then it saves you washing it up as well. But you can work with that energy of the contents as the base for your spell. I'll start with honey jar spells because they are quite traditional. We have some fantastic shops near us. Asian supermarkets, international supermarkets, Caribbean supermarkets, all sorts. And they have some fantastic foods. It takes you ages to walk around because you have to look at everything. But I got this jar of honey from them, and I bought this particular jar of honey because I like the shape of the jar. In actual fact, this jar will probably be washed up and used to hold something, dried herbs or dried flowers or something, because I like the shape of it. But you can work it for a jar spell, no problem. Obviously, honey is sweet. And again, I wouldn't, if I'm working a spell with it, I would leave the dregs of the honey in there because it carries that energy. It gives a base for you to start the energy of the spell on. Sephora says, oh yeah, I hadn't noticed that. Maybe that's why I was drawn to it, Sephora. Sephora says the jar looks like a cauldron. It does. It's got that rounded shape, hasn't it? I hadn't made that connection. It must have been subconscious. I buy cauldrons of honey. So I start with the base of what's in it and then work the spell from there. Obviously, I don't store these jars with dregs of food in. If I'm going to keep the jar because I like the jar, I'll wash it out. But if I get to the end of a jar and I think, oh, I can work something with that, I will. A jar spell quite often involves petitions. So you would start with the base of the honey in it. Oh, look at that. Let's get some of these up. Jane says your honey jar's got a pentagram too, and it has. Look at that. Not only that, I've just noticed it's got a half moon as well. That's why I was drawn to it. The jar not only has a half moon, it has a star on it. So it's got a pentagram on it too. Right, this one's going to be kept. Maria loves honey. I do too. I think honey's just brilliant for spreading on your toast and putting in cookies and cakes and all sorts. But the honey jar spells are quite traditional, and what they tend to do with these is fill the jar with different ingredients, dried herbs, might be pieces of hair or nail clippings, stuff like that, to draw it to a particular individual. And then they'll write a charm. Anyone will write a charm on it, put the piece, write a charm on a piece of paper and drop the piece of paper in the jar. Then top it off by putting a candle on the top. And here's one I made earlier. This is an empty jar. And you put a candle on the top. You melt a bit of wax and stick the candle on the top. And then the candle is burnt on top of the jar. And that activates the spell. You can use honey, you can use syrup, you can use anything really. And I quite often put a candle on top of all sorts of jar spells. For me, it just adds another level of magic, another level of energy to the magic, another level of energy to the spell, and kind of kicks it into action. You have to be careful. You have to watch it. But it does make quite a cool jar afterwards, because obviously all the candle wax strips all over it. Looks very witchy. So let's have a look at the actual thing. This is honey, obviously, as we've said, beautiful colour. Nectar of the bees. I apologise to any vegans. We will move on to things that aren't connected with animals. One of the oldest foods known to man. Bees are incredibly magical, often said to be messengers from the gods and the spirit world. Honey sacred to so many gods. The Egyptian god Ra, Greek goddess Artemis, Demeter, Hindu gods Vishnu and Krishna. That is, they're all associated with honey. Honey can be added to any kind of spell or recipe to sweeten someone's mood or to improve their disposition. It's also very medicinally good for you. It is happiness in a jar. It does make an excellent offering to the gods, to the spirit world, to the fae. The fairy world love honey as well. Add a drop of honey to incense blends. It helps sweeten the mood of the mix. Honey works for happiness, for love, prosperity, healing. Bees, so amazing. Tell it to the bees. They are great listeners. When a beekeeper died, folklore says that survivors must tell the bees of the keeper's death and persuade them to stay rather than follow their beekeeper to the other world. Importantly, you should tell all sorts of events to bees, marriages, births, important events. You should whisper politely, apparently. Bees are also considered to be an image of the human soul. Perhaps due to their natural ability to find their way home, even over great distances. If my soul was a bee, it would still get lost. And more importantly, honey's also used to make mead, which is not only yummy, it's really good for ritual and it's really good for offerings. I don't need much to send me away with the fairies. If you've read the Terry Pratchett Discworld books, I don't want tea or honey. I'll have coffee. Thank you. Just putting in my order.
Get what you're given.
Get what I'm given. Okay. In the Discworld Terry Pratchett stories, the main witch, Granny Weatherwax, who is my icon, she is my idol. She gets all of her news from the bees. They see everything. They know everything. There's a communication. So I think bees are particularly magical. I have bee tattoos, actually. So they were part of my menopause journey, actually, the bee. Sephora says, new tattoo on, yes, it's upside down. That was one of my ritual tattoos. It's the Kalach. That's, yeah, she's quite, yeah, no, it's not going to work. It's the Kalach, the crone goddess with her tartan blanket. Maria's on a train. You'll get there. You'll get there. Jane, I buried the local vicar in honey and put his jar in the freezer. He complied. I'm assuming you didn't actually bury the entire vicar in honey. Put him in your freezer. I'm assuming that's kind of, metaphorically speaking. I tell our bees everything. My nan told me they need to be kept in the loop or they get cross. Absolutely. You have to talk to them. You have to talk to them. It's important. Angela, I haven't made a jar spell for so long. Been saving using my jars for my dried herbs, tinctures, lotions, potions. Started to make as my lovely hubby bought me a dehydrator as a gift and the garden has burst into abundance. Yes, it's the time of year when we're drying plants and flowers and leaves and petals and all sorts. So empty jam jars are really good for that. Good morning, Xenia. Raven, I'm prone to having large bees in my bedroom, woken up by them on numerous occasions this week. They are out working at the moment. Karen has a bee tattoo too. Yeah, I've got one here. They are bees there. That was done a couple of years ago. Elizabeth, bee has been part of my menopause too. I'd never worked with bee before and it arrived and was brilliant. So much support and information and insight. Brilliant. Caroline, my daughter is named Melissa, which is bee in Greek. Very, very strong bee connection there. Sephora, I need a jar spell for hubby for full moon yips. Going to need a lot of honey. When you're working with a jar spell, I wouldn't work a spell with an entire jar of honey because that would be wasteful and it's nice to eat. I would wait till the jar's finished and just use the dregs in the bottom. Although you can add a spoonful of honey to any of your jar spells that you're working with just to make things sweeter. So honey jar spells I would work with for happiness, healing, love, prosperity, passion, spirituality, and any fairy kind of work. Honey is associated with the element of water and the element of earth, and it is feminine. Jane, I rescued a bee from a spider web once and it flew back and hovered in my face for a few seconds before flying off. I felt like it was saying thank you. Oh, brilliant. Heather and I were with Susie Inkwich, as I said, on Wednesday, and she has a beehive. And Heather did rescue a bee that was stuck in a spider web. But the other bees were trying to help it. And Susie, Bee Guru, said if you leave it, the other bees will clean it up and sort it out. So they look after each other. Elizabeth, can you buy honey where the bees are treated well and keep most of their honey? Honey is an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's all sorts of horror stories about big manufacturers having bees, taking their honey, killing all the bees afterwards. To me, that must be, rubbish. You wouldn't kill the bees because they're going to make more honey next time. So if you are concerned about the provenance, the looking after the bees that you got your honey from, look for a local supplier. Look to farm shops, local farmers markets. Even look online. There'll be some individual companies that do online. So if you're worried about the source of it, do a little bit of research and buy it from somewhere, local farm shops. Janet says, is it true that bees only see the colour blue? Oh, I have no idea, Janet. I have absolutely no idea. I would assume they can see more colours because otherwise you wouldn't have so many different varieties of flowers to attract them, would you? I don't know. If anyone has the answer to that one, that'd be interesting to know. Vinegar jar spells I've mentioned, but I forgot to bring one in. So pickle or chutney jars work really well for any kind of protection magic. Vinegar is fire. It's a fire element. So anything that you want to work that has that fiery element to it, you can use an old pickle or chutney jar, or even just tip a bit of vinegar into your jar. That works really well. And protection. If you're working a protection jar spell, then an old pickle or chutney jar would be absolutely perfect for that. Xenia, I've started saving wood popsicles or tiny wood spoons from takeaway yogurt to use in honey jar spells. It's saving stuff, reusing stuff. Jane, I think bees must see yellow because most flowers have yellow in the middle to guide them into the nectar. I think they must see more colours, mustn't they? Because flowers are bright, aren't they? Too, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. So let's have a look at the infamous Oh, bees and colour.
They can see several colours.
Oh, they can see several colours, can they? Well, I'm pleased about that. I'd hate to think they couldn't see very many colours. The infamous jar of Marmite from one of my previous Witch Fest talks, where I talked about the magic of working with Marmite. This in particular is brilliant because it is cauldron shaped. The jar is cauldron shaped. Marmite's a very love or hate, isn't it, really? It seems to be one of those things. It is yeast extract, basically. Yeah, yeast extract. Barley, wheat, oats, rye, salt, vegetable juice, vitamins. Contains celery, apparently. I'm just going to say that out loud. Your Marmite contains celery.
Yeah, nothing that I can taste.
Pete loves Marmite, hates celery. This is his jar of Marmite. I like working jar spells with Marmite jars because of the cauldron element. I also like it because it's dark glass, so it makes me feel a little bit witchy working a spell over a cauldron of dark glass. But because it's got yeast in it, it's, for me, about rising, lifting, boosting. I think it works brilliantly for any spell where you want to boost power, or if you want to work magic for lifting your spirits, rising to meet a challenge. If you want to boost a spell, other spell that you're working with, teaspoon of Marmite in it, will do it. The name Marmite actually comes from a French casserole dish. And if you look, without getting the light and everything on it, that, got my finger over it, that is a Marmite. It's actually the name of the casserole dish. That's why the image, I guess, is on the jar. The jar itself is similar shape to this casserole dish, but it's definitely a cauldron. Let's face it. It can be used for jar and bottle spells with the base of the cauldron. So crone magic, feminine energy, inspiration, creativity. It is Caredwin's cauldron with the Arwen with the inspiration in it. When I was actually at Witchfest and I asked for suggestions, the colour was actually mentioned as well by the audience, suggesting that it would work for the darker side of magic because the jar is dark, because Marmite is dark. Probably one of the only things that we eat that's actually almost black in colour, unless you count burnt sausages on the barbecue. There we go. Jay says, bees see more colours than us, including ultraviolet. They're clever little things, aren't they? Jane remembers a documentary. They see ultraviolet making flower more vibrant than what we see. So we need bee vision, really, don't we? Maria loves Marmite. Excellent. Yes, if you are over the other side of the world, it is Vegemite, which is more widely found, isn't it? Australia, New Zealand. Sephora, we have Vegemite here as well as Marmite, but not the cool jars. Oh, that's disappointing. You can buy it over here now in plastic tubs, but we do tend to stick to these ones because they're nice shapes. Xenia says, if Marmite contains celery, it's basically a salad.
That's why I'm so fit and healthy.
Is that why you're so fit and healthy?
Yeah, would you like any cake?
No, I'm all right for cake at the minute, thank you. I should be having some later, I'm sure. Yeah, it's got vegetable juice concentrate in it as well, so it's a double salad. I like the way you think. Sephora, tell Pete celery is good for slowing down gout, so a good excuse for eating Marmite, especially on Vogels or crumpets. Yeah, you won't get him to eat celery. Jane, my mum was given a cup of hot milk and Marmite in a shop in the cold winter of 62, 63. It makes a lovely bedtime drink, but beware, the skin doesn't melt. It dangles off your bottom lip like a big hot bogey. Thank you for sharing, Jane. Marmite in hot milk. Like the sound of that?
No.
He's pulling a face. I'll take your word for that one, Jane.
Marmite with corned beef and chips.
Marmite with corned beef and chips.
Yep.
Do we like the idea of that?
Mm-hmm.
Xenia's not liking Marmite. Can relate to the notion of Marmite belonging on the dark side. Jill says Marmite is way better tasting than Vegemite. Okay, I've not had Vegemite.
Vegemite's very limp in comparison.
Vegemite is a bit limp. Is it? Yeah. Apparently, Vegemite's limp and Marmite is powerful.
It's girly and Australian, same as Promite.
Vegemite is girly and Australian. That was from Pete, not me, just in case anyone wonders.
Politically correct.
Politically correct. Helen used to love Marmite, but for now got an allergic reaction to Marmite. Oh no, that's not fun. I can eat Meridian yeast extract. Interesting. Must be one of the ingredients in it. Kerry loves Marmite, but how do you clean out the jar? I don't clean out the jar generally. If I'm working a jar spell, I will leave it unwashed because I work with the Marmite as the base and it saves all the trouble of washing it out because it's not easy. If I do wash out the jar to keep it, then you have to soak it for a bit. Although we've got a dishwasher now, so it might work better in the dishwasher. But yeah, it does take a little bit of soaking and cleaning to wash it out, which is why if I'm working the jar spell, I tend to leave the scraps of Marmite in there. Xenia, absolutely love when companies put marmalade honey in beautiful jars. Sometimes buy some only to keep the jar. Yeah, that's why I bought that particular brand of honey, because I liked the shape of the jar. Wow, Angela says French supermarkets have started selling Marmite, but it's only about £8 for a small jar. Wow, that's funny, isn't it? Being as Marmite is actually a French word and comes from the Marmite pot. Christine cannot tolerate yeast products, but I used to love Marmite. Now I'm a wheezy wreck if I try some. Boo, that's not fun. Jane, can you use Marmite instead of honey in a jar spell if you need to toughen someone up? Or could it send them to the dark side? No, I wouldn't worry about the dark side, though. It's just, colour is colour. It's not, there is no... It's funny, isn't it? We associate light with good and dark with evil. It's not. It's not at all. You've got to have both. Got to have balance of both. So I would work. I do work Marmite spells. It is the yeast of it. So I do use it for lifting people up or lifting things up, boosting the mood, lifting the mood. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's not the dark and the light kind of thing. Work on the yeast of it. Work on the rising the yeast of it. And now I know it's got celery in it. Where the magic of celery too. Crone magic is brilliant. Anything feminine, anything that needs a boost of feminine energy because you've got the cauldron linked to it. Inspiration, creativity, they're all positive, boosty things. So I would work with it for that. Sephora says, a small dog with a long tongue can sort any scraps of Marmite in a jar. Have we tried Eric with Marmite? I don't think we have, did we?
I don't think so.
Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, Jill's with you on Promite. What's Promite?
It's watered down. It's
that's
the other Australian.
That's thing. Exactly what Jill's just said. It's like eating watered down Marmite that's been sweetened.
I got them sent to me, Promite and Vegemite.
Okay, yes,
from Australia.
Pete has a sister and had a brother living in Australia, so they used to send things. Patchwork Witch. I work with Mama B. She first showed up when I was 8. She stung me but didn't let me get any of her venom. She said it wouldn't have been good for me. B is a fascinating creature to work with. Absolutely fascinating. And I have been very thankful to have worked with B energy. Xenia says the dark colour can also be used for cozy earth energy and for protection. I think because you've got that cauldron, that womb type energy, it would work brilliantly for that, because just of the shape of it, really. It's a hug. Christine's dogs love Marmite. Okay, we'll have to try Eric on some Marmite.
I think we will.
I don't think Pete will be sharing his Marmite. Eric will have to have Marmite when Pete's not around.
Bloody dog.
Oh no, Maria's not a Vegemite fan either. So yeah, jar spells, the Marmite jar is brilliant because of the whole cauldron link to it. I think it works brilliantly for working magic in. And it's just cool, really.
Vegemite is like Bovril.
I haven't had Bovril for years. So I grabbed things randomly out of the kitchen cupboard this morning, just to show you how easy it is to work magic with things from, the kitchen cupboard. Oh, that's a good trick, Christine. Used to put it inside bones for the dogs. They spent ages licking the bones out. Good idea. Jane, my husband likes a good dollop of Marmite in gravy. I actually quite often use Marmite instead of stock cubes. I put it in casseroles and soups and all sorts. Really good in vegetable soup. Big spoonful of Marmite. It works really well. Cooking tips as well, see. Anyway, so I went to the kitchen cupboard, and the next thing I grabbed was tin of gravy granules. Our daughter likes these. So it's not a jar. It's not even a tin, actually. It's cardboard, so it can be recycled, which is good. But gravy has magical properties. It's not just for dipping your chips in and putting on your sausage and mash. Gravy pours. So it aids in the smooth transition of projects, plans, situations. It carries the magical properties of water. So it's emotions, healing, cleansing, purification. Gravy can also be used to soothe aggression. So it's calming, it's a soothing of the emotions, it's healing. Because of the water element, it's got a cleansing and purification. I think it's ruled by the planet, the moon. Definitely element of water, and I think it's got a strong feminine energy as well. But this would really work good as a jar spell because you've got an easy lid on it as well. It's not been opened, this one. So you could leave again. You wouldn't wash this up because it's cardboard, but you could leave a few of the gravy granules in the bottom, so you've got a base of your gravy magic to work with, and then you would fill it with dried herbs, crystal chips, feathers, bits of stick, leaves, whatever you want to add into it to complete your spell ingredients. A petition with your charm written on it. You could even, on this one, draw sigils on the outside of the box because it's cardboard, bit of Sharpie, and you could draw your sigils. Pop the lid on. I probably wouldn't put a candle on top of this one because it is plastic, might melt it. But then you've got your jar spell. In actual fact, this one, if you didn't put the lid on, if you just put a bit of paper over the top, you could bury it because it's cardboard. But that would work really well. That works really well as a jar spell. Or maracas. I need more coffee. So gravy magic. Let's have some of these up. Angela, we have some lovely bees that look like they're wearing a ginger wig. My daughter has naturally red hair, so we call them Sam bees. Brilliant. Jane says gravy granule pots are great for spells that need to be burned. Oh yes, of course, because it's cardboard. Yeah. Replace the plastic top with a piece of paper and string. Brilliant idea, Jane. That would work brilliant. Zephora says Massel's gravy has a tin top, so you could use a candle on that one. Yes, just be mindful. That's much better to work with. Ravenwolf, when I make gravy, I always put a big dollop of cranberry jelly in it. Lovely. Very, very nice. Give it a bit of fruity kick. And adding your magic to it. Hang on, the dog's bed's not quite right. Let me move that blanket for you. There you go. Maria's, mashed potato and gravy is food of the gods for sure. Definitely food of the gods. So the next jar to look at, the first one I picked up, peanut butter. Weird stuff. Makes your tongue stick to the roof of your mouth. Very strange stuff. Makes excellent cookies. Peanut butter cookies are some of the best cookies ever. But again, makes an excellent jar spell. This one's actually plastic, so I wouldn't bury or burn this one, but it does make an excellent jar spell. I do try and avoid plastic jars, but sometimes you can't. It is a ground nut, the peanut, and it's actually a member of the legume family, the bean family. It does grow quite unusual. If you've never seen how a peanut grows, you need to look it up. I'll tell you anyway. After the flower is pollinated, when a mummy and a daddy peanut love each other very much, after the flower's pollinated, the flower stalk bends to touch the ground, and the continued growth of the stalk pushes it under the ground, and the fruit develops into the peanut pod. Monkey nut, basically, they're sold in shops as. They are actually roasted in their shell, and they are one of my favourite snacks, although they don't like me very much. Peanut, I think, is a huge, huge male energy. It is totally packed with He-Man, kick sand in your face, bodybuilder kind of bodybuilder kind of grr power. That's how I see it anyway. You can eat peanuts or peanut butter for a big manly boost of energy, or use peanut shells. If you do buy the monkey nuts, save the peanut shells, because you can use the shells in your magic, and then you get to eat the peanut, and the bit that you would throw away, you can work your magic with, because the shell has the same energy as the actual peanut. Roasted peanuts can be eaten to increase the size of your wallet. Be careful, I wasn't going there. Peanut butter can also be eaten for abundance. Don't eat it in abundance, because that would make you sick. But it's got a real prosperity, abundance kind of energy to it as well. So if I'm working a prosperity spell with the peanut jar, I wouldn't wash it out. I'd leave the scraps of peanut butter in it, and then I would add other herbs and ingredients to it. I might add basil and mint. And are you still hunting? The dog is driving me nuts. You're still hunting the fly, aren't you? I can hear the tippy tappy of his claws on the floor. He's fly hunting. Anyway, prosperity spell. I might add basil. I might add camellia petals. I'd probably chuck a little silver-fied pea coin in there as well, to make it a prosperity spell, because it's got that boost of peanut butter money magic, basically. So that would be my peanut butter spell. Samora, peanut butter would be good for a mother-in-law spell. Stick tongue to top of mouth, possibly. This is why I love magic. This is why I love working with these kinds of things. What it means to you. I'd never thought of that before. It does stick your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and that would be perfect for stopping someone gossiping too, wouldn't it? That would work really well. Em's not a fan of not a Marmite fan, but Mum likes it in gravy or on toast. Yeah, it works really well in gravy. Does it still have wheat in it? It's got some grains in it, hasn't it? Yeah, it does. Barley, wheat, oats and rye, because it is the yeast extracted from them. Peanut butter's lovely. Yeah. Sephora, peanut butter in a Kong or hoof is great entertainment for bored dogs on wet days for hours. That's if your dog likes peanut butter. I put lots of treats in a Kong, and I smeared loads of peanut butter over the thing of it. If you don't know what a Kong is, it's a rubber toy for dogs. You put things in it, and they spend ages trying to get the little treats out. Filled it with peanut butter, only to find that Eric doesn't like peanut butter, and I had to wash it all out. He's not a fan of peanut butter. Oh, I think it is. Again, it's a bit like Mama, isn't it? It's a love or hate. Christine, as long as the peanut butter doesn't have palm oil in it. If it has oil on the top, that means no palm oil. Palm oil makes the peanut butter solidify. It's interesting, actually. I was again at Susie's on Wednesday, and she had peanut butter powder. No, peanut powder. So it was the peanut butter taste that we're familiar with, but in a powder form. It's a huge amount less calories, and it hasn't got any of that oil in it. And you mix it with water, and it makes peanut butter, and it was absolutely delicious because it wasn't so oily. I haven't looked at the ingredients of this one, but yes, palm oil is something to take. Be mindful of. Absolutely, because palm oil's evil. It's not good. Sephora, Eric only eats cake or icing in his Kong. He does like cake, only little bits though. Interesting. Lots of loving Marmite and not peanut butter. Two very Controversial ingredients, obviously, but very good for working prosperity magic with. So bear that in mind. So on to a tin. Tins you can work jar spells with. They become tin spells, obviously. But it's a food container. It is a container for a spell. Obviously, it's safer to actually remove the lid once you've emptied the contents and used them, and you will or may have to cover it with a piece of paper or string or something. But a tin works really well for a spell container. And again, you don't need to wash it. Can if you want to save some of them, because they do make really good spell containers. But you can work with the base of the ingredients. And tin tomato, I've always got tin tomatoes in the cupboard. They're really good for working magic with. The tomato, often referred to as the love apple. So it is ruled by Venus and water. So it works really well in all recipes and meals to share with a loved one to bring love in. If you've got actual tomatoes that you've grown or eaten, save some of the seeds. The seeds can be dried and used in love spell work. The seeds work really well if you want to add the magic of tomato to a spell pouch, because you don't want to add an actual tomato or tin tomatoes, because that would make it very squishy. So save the seeds and dry them. Tomato sacred to Venus, Aphrodite and Hera. Keep a tomato on your windowsill to stop negative energy from entering your home. Eating tomatoes inspires love, passion, creativity. So it's really good ingredient to work with. But once you've used them in your bolognese or whatever it is you're going to use them in, you can use the tin. Put your other ingredients inside it. Leave it to do its thing. You could put paper on the top, tie it with string. But you can work your magic. A tin spell. If you're feeling really, really creative, wash it out and punch holes in it, and you can make a little tea light holder. But it's a job and a half doing that, because we've tried. Good morning, Carol. I give our hamster the tiniest bit of peanut butter they are allowed it. The dog's not a big fan. It is love or hate thing, isn't it? Peanut butter is a bit of a Marmite thing, a love or hate. Emma says, peanut butter powder I usually get, and you can get a chocolate flavoured one too. Great for overnight oats. I thought it would be really good in frosting for cupcakes too. I've got Christine's attention now. Loves tin tomatoes. Have you worked magic with a tin of tomatoes though, Christine? Maria too. Even have them with scrambled eggs. Yeah, scrambled eggs and tomatoes. Nice. Jane says, sounds like tomato seeds would be good to add to witch bottle. Yes, tomato seeds are really good to add to witch bottles or spell pouches, because if you dry them, they're not going to go moldy. They're not going to make things soggy, whereas a spoonful of tomato would. But if you're working your tin spell, you can leave the dregs of the tomatoes in there. That goes for baked beans as well. They've got tomato sauce in them, and that works for magic of beans as well. Baked beans are really good for prosperity magic. But tomatoes definitely for love, passion, protection as well, creativity. And of course, the tins are recyclable. Angela, my friend, gets her coffee in tins and saves them for me. Coffee tins, brilliant. Well, coffee tins, coffee jars, all brilliant for working jar spells with. Coffee not only perks you up with the caffeine personally, but the coffee boost energy can be used in magic as well. That same lifting energy, boosting energy and power can be used in a magical spell. Zephora says, tomato seeds are incredibly fertile, so maybe a fertility spell. Yes, they would work excellently, that. Christine says only an edible spell. Of course, I am talking about jar spells and tin spells, and that's because I add other things to them that you wouldn't necessarily eat. But if you want to work food magic, just eat it. Jill says, if you fill the tin with water and freeze it, it makes it easier to punch the holes in to make a tea light holder. I had not heard that before. That's an excellent idea, Jill. Thank you for that. We really struggled when the girls and I were trying to make tea light holders with tins. Christine, as I cannot tolerate gravies because they've got wretched palm oil in, I usually use tinned tomatoes as a gravy or to make soup. Very nice. Good morning, Louise. So tins. Use them exactly as you would a jar spell. They work really well. It's basically just another different type of container for your spell. While I was also going through the cupboard, I found one of these little beasties, upside down. Not mine, but the kids had pizza, and these came little dip thing, horrendously full of all sorts of plastic and probably lots of nasty things. I'm just looking at the ingredient. God, I need new glasses. I cannot see. They're so tiny. The list of ingredients, you wouldn't believe the list of ingredients that's in this tiny little thing. All sorts of things. Actually, nothing that looks particularly horrendous. But anyway, this one is a garlic and herb dip. And as I picked it out in the cupboard, I thought, actually, that would make a really good spell. Just one of those little quick, got to do a quick here and now spell. Use your garlic dip on whatever you want it for. And then you could use the container to put a little spell in. And garlic is brilliant for magic, not just for getting rid of vampires. It's incredibly beneficial to your health. So I think it's good in magical workings for healing. Garlic's sacred to the Greek goddess Hecate, can be left at crossroads as an offering to her. Please don't leave plastic tubs at crossroads, but the actual garlic could be given as an offering to her. Garlic has got so many different magical things. And if you don't want to actually work with the garlic cloves, I save the papery outside skins of the garlic, and I actually use that in magical workings. Garlic salt is another useful thing to use with the magic of garlic and the magic of salt without it being all soggy and squishy. But garlic brings all sorts: healing, protection, hex breaking, gets rid of negative energies, protects against negative energies. It's for strength, it's for courage. It's also good in fighting against depression. Ruled by the planet Mars, so it's got the element of fire doubly behind it, and it's a very masculine energy. But I thought with these little pots, because this one is garlic, it says garlic and herb. It doesn't actually say what herb it is. Looking at the tiny writing, no, it doesn't say. Although it's got mustard in as well, so mustard will back up the protection of garlic. You could eat it, leave all the remnants in it, and then pop a few other little bits and pieces in there. If you're working it for protection, you could pop a thorn, or I was gifted some blackthorn spikes in the week. You could pop one of those in there, even a nail, something like that, and just pop the lid back down again and use it as a protection spell. That would, I think, would work really well. Don't bury these. It's plastic. I know you wouldn't do anyway. Maria, you can make gravy with Marmite and cornflakes. Yes, I add Marmite to gravies and sauces and soups and all sorts. Sephora, now I have a magnifying glass on a keyring for reading ingredients at the supermarket. Welcome, Crone. Yeah, I'm on my way to Crone. I'm still in the matriarch at the moment, but I think I just need new glasses. Angela, I throw the contents of those dip things away, then use the container as sinks and bowls for my doll's house miniatures. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It looks like a little sink. I hadn't thought about that. It does look like a little sink. See there, you could tie in sympathetic magic with that too, couldn't you? It is sink shaped. Interesting. What a clever idea. Sephora, at $50 a kilo for organic garlic here. I'll use the skins for magic. The rest is for humans. That's for it. That's me. It's eat the garlic. You'd throw the paper skins away normally. So I eat the garlic and keep the paper skins for magic. They've got the same energy as the actual garlic. The same with the peanuts. Eat the peanuts, save the shells. I do that with all of the nuts that I buy. The nuts all get used, usually in cakes or cookies, and I save the shells. Pistachio shells make really little sweet places to do little drawings, sigils and little images and things on. Save the shells. They've got the same energy as the actual nut, and then you are not wasting anything. Emma, I love garlic with bacon and onion on toast. I don't think I've had that. It does sound very yummy, but then anything with bacon's usually yummy. Garlic salt would be good to protect the vampires, says Joey. It's funny, isn't it? I bet vampires have actually got very, very used to garlic now, and it probably wouldn't work. Maria, they don't taste like garlic and herb. They're very vinegary. It has got vinegar listed on it and lemon juice. Yeah, I don't actually eat them. I think our daughter likes these with her pizza. But the actual container works really well for working little magical spells with. Just emptying my kitchen cupboards to see what we've got. Now, if you're vegan, you might want to look away, because I have a jar of hot dogs. I know these are nasty. I know they have all sorts of horrible things in them, but our son loves them. Pete says they taste good. Yeah, our son loves them. They're one of his favorites. But I love the jar, because the jar is quite an interesting long shape. So you can get all sorts of weird things in it to make a jar spell. But it is the base of it, I'm assuming, is got some sort of vinegar in it. It's just, I can't see a thing. Brine. It has brine in it, so it's got salt water in it. So you've got the base of salt in there, which is very good for protection. But these are, I say pork sausages. Oh no, it does have 71% pork. That's not bad for it's not bad for a hot dog. I love pigs. I have lived and worked on a pig farm in my youth. I think they are the most intelligent creatures ever. They can be seriously grumpy, but I love pigs. And my wild boar is one of my spirit animals. So, well, he's my main spirit animal anyway. So I have got big connection to them. But pork throughout history has been the meat of the poor man. It was a commoner's food. So it's got a great deal of strength and determination energy to it. Goddess Demeter had a sacred pig, which became a symbol of fertility. Native American Indians, indigenous peoples of America, believed the pig to be a symbol of abundance, and teaches us to be grateful for what we've got. In many cultures, the pig is a symbol of luck and prosperity. The Celtic sea god Manannán, that's a bit like the word banana, isn't it? You don't ever know when to stop. Had a herd of magical pigs. When eaten, they imparted renewing qualities. So the pig has quite a magical history, but pork itself brings strength, fertility, prosperity, luck, and longevity. It's a big fiery energy, and it's a masculine gender. So you could use your hot dog jar or your hot dog tin to work a magical spell for any of those things: strength, fertility, prosperity, luck, longevity. And if they are in brine, then you've got the added energy of salt in there as well. Sorry, Christine. Christine's got her fingers in her ears going, la, 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 la. I did warn you first. But it's about making use of what you have in your cupboard. I've missed some comments. Let me go back. Jane says, pistachio shells are great for containing offerings to the fae because they're tiny. Janet has started saving my chopped garlic jars because you can't wash away the scent. You can't. If you buy the little jars of fresh chopped garlic, you will never get rid of that scent. Vinegar jars are quite often difficult to get rid of as well. So they work really well for magic, and you can base your magic on that ingredient. Emma, I used garlic powder in a protection spell recently. Just don't sniff it, otherwise the powder goes up your nose and you'll be smelling garlic all day. Zephora, as Revlon are going bust, I saw that this morning. Maybe we can use all the old lipstick cases for mini jar spells. Lipstick has its own magical properties. I did a talk on magical makeup. It is on the YouTube channel. But yes, that would work really well, wouldn't it? Lipstick cases would make really good little tiny spell. Angela, there are a couple of people with Tesla cars around here. Yeah, there's one that parks outside ours. Every time we see one, we say, "Ooh, vampires." Jane used to have a dog that loved hot dogs, only where he'd take his medications. I have a strange dog that eats his flea and worm tablets just out of my hand. I've never known a dog like it. Usually you have to hide them in things, don't you? Elizabeth, how long do you keep a jar spell before emptying it and making a new one? I was looking at my protection jars by the front and back door earlier. Okay, so I have witch bottles, a couple of witch bottles in my house. One in the corner behind Pete, because it's in the corner of the room, and one in the living room. They have oats and dirt and bent nails, a bit of knot magic in there, some cobwebs. Their specific purpose is to absorb any negative energy in the house and to put out positive energy. Because the ingredients in those jar spells are all dry and non-perishable, non-moldy-fied, they stay there for quite a long time. I probably only renew them every 6 months, and I literally dump out the contents, cleanse out the jar, and reuse the jar. For something like this, if I was using a tin spell, I would literally just keep it until the spell was finished. So I'd do the spell, put a candle on the top, burn the candle, chuck it away, because the contents will go moldy, unless that's what you require for the spell. If it is a curse or a hex, then it's probably better to leave it to go moldy. But most of it, I would just, within the day, I would get rid of it, because it's foodstuffs and it does go moldy. Something like your honey jar spell might last a bit longer, because honey does preserve things. Trust your intuition, and if it starts to smell. But generally, any food jar tin spells, I generally don't keep. I work the spell and get rid of them. Angela, in France, hot dogs are called knacks. I hope they don't contain any of those. In France, you never know, because they do like to eat unusual things. Zavora, I've never seen hot dogs in a jar, just weird. Okay, we do have them in tins as well. I just like the jar. And actually, these jars are really good for storing dried herbs and flowers and things once you've washed them and cleansed them out, because they're quite a nice shape and size. Janet has, America has hot dogs in jars. I don't know where these come from. I don't know. It doesn't say. Oh, the Netherlands, it looks like, which is quite a random thing. But there you go. Xenia, sniffing a line of garlic powder. You may have started a trend there, Emma. Hannah, in work we use tiny little individual jam jars. They're really useful, aren't they? Those little tiny jam jars that you have in hotels for when you have your breakfast. Brilliant for working magical spells with jar spells. And of course, jam, marmalade, all carries its own magical energy. Jane, I use a chutney jar to bury negative stuff in black salt. It's got a rubber ring sealing it. It will always smell of pickle. That doesn't it? Chutneys and pickle jars, they bring that energy of vinegar, onions, pickles with it, and it's brilliant for getting rid of negative energy. Elizabeth, mine are dried flowers and salt. Being lazy, they've been protecting us for a year, although we did have someone try to break in a few weeks ago. Maybe that, yes. You'll know when your protective witch balls have run out of energy. If they just need a pep, give them a shake and it will boost the energy a bit. You can do that with any of these jar spells. Give them a shake to renew the energy, to boost the energy. The movement of it somehow gives the magic a bit of a kick. But if you feel that it's done its job, then ditch it, start again. Trust your intuition on it. Emma, the honey jar. It does. Honey jar reminds me of Winnie the Pooh jars. Yeah, the honey jar is that kind of shape, isn't it? Christine, little tins with holes in them make great shakers for black salt. Yes, excellent. Jane, Bratwurst come in jars. Yes, I've seen those in jars too. Raven Wolf, they found honey in the Egyptian tombs and it's still edible. It never goes off. Apparently so. Apparently honey it just lasts forever. I'm not sure I'd want it to be the one that would eat it, but Xenia, Brockwurst in jars, totally usually in Germany. Yes, well, they are German, aren't they? That makes sense. Maria, can you reuse the pins in witch jars? No, well, it's up to you, but I dump the whole lot out. Whatever is in my witch jars for protecting, absorbing negative energy and bringing protection to the house, I dump the entire contents because it has all absorbed all of the negative energy. So it's going to be full of that. So I dump it in the trash and it gets taken away and get rid of it. So no, I wouldn't use any of the contents in a witch jar that's been used for absorbing negative energy or protection. But basically have a look and see. The other thing I picked up was one of these packets. I didn't buy it. It came in a HelloFresh thing. I don't tend to buy this because you can't recycle them. It's tomato passata, but it's in one of these packets. You can use that packet, same as you can cereal boxes, flour bags, any container that's had food in it, you can use to put a spell in. You just work with the basics of the ingredients and load your spell on the top. And this one, you can just fold the top over to seal it in. So just have a think about the things that you've got that you have food before you throw them in the bin, because you can work magic with them. We'll just do the candle thing again. If you want to activate it, particularly with the jars, I tend to put a candle on the top, burn the candle down to activate the spell, and then it's done. You can write petitions to put your intent in. Charge the ingredients before you put them in there, and then let them do their thing. Jane, I keep a witch bottle by the bed containing bits of smoky quartz to filter out the bad stuff, but welcome the good. Last night between 3 and 4, Sandra is Jane's cat, was welcoming in no end of good energies. The bedroom was like Piccadilly Circus. A bedroom is it's a good place to keep a witch bottle. You can make specific witch bottles for sleeping good and restful sleep and positive dreams. Christine, when I lived in Germany, I used to be heard giggling at the names of all the different worsts. Yeah, it's a British sense of humour. Sephora, I heard they find witch jars still in walls of old houses. They do. Witch jars have been found centuries old with all sorts of things. Generally, they were used originally to protect against things like witches. Thankfully, we use them for different purposes these days, but they are so useful. Sephora says Sandra was probably enjoying the line of planets at that time, hence energy off the walls. Yes, it's all been a bit squiffy, hasn't it? So just have a think before you throw that packet, that jar, that tin, that box into the bin. Think what magic you could work with it. They are so useful. Even your empty ketchup bottles, you can use whatever it is for working magic. They are really, really useful. Jane says that Tousle Head chat on Antiques Roadshow opened a witch bottle. Oh, I drank the liquid. Oh, I lived to tell the tale. Oh, no. Whiskey bottles. Any bottle that's had alcohol in it, you can work with the basis of that as well to make bottle or jar spells. Kerry says, are all beans prosperity? I tend to think of kidney beans, cannelloni beans, any of the dried beans work really well in spell pouches, witch bottles, things like that. Baked beans, again, you've got the added energy of tomato with it. But yes, prosperity. I tend to think of most beans as being associated with prosperity, although they will have their own individual energies as well. Same with seeds. I tend to think of most seeds have got prosperity energy too, because they're usually very fertile and there's lots of them. But tap into the ingredient yourself and find out what you think it would be good for working magic with. It's got to be a personal thing. So have a look. I'd be really interested to see what you come up with. Do post on the Kitchen Witch Coven Facebook group if you've made any jar spells with food ingredients, food jars and tins. I'd love to see what you come up with. And as always, thank you for joining me. I'm off out for a day of jolliness down at the beach, down at the seaside. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Think about your packets before you throw them away. Hello, dog. Have you not caught the fly yet?
Heard you say goodbye.
And I will see you, hopefully some of you tonight at the Kitchen Witch online ritual. What else we got? Got anything else?
Monday, Llewellyn's.
Oh, Monday, I'm doing a talk, free talk for Llewellyn, 5 o'clock UK time. They've had a whole week load of talks, so hop on over to the Llewellyn website to have a look for Llewellyn Con. It's free, but you do have to register for a ticket. Anyone at Pagan Tribal Gathering next weekend, we will be there. And I am doing a 3-hour online workshop for the College of Psychic Studies on Tuesday the 28th. So hop on over to their website as well. All of the events are on my website, so hop over and have a look. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. When the dog lets me click off.